Welcome to the dark side of travel, where the thrill of exploration turns into a chilling nightmare. Join us as we delve into a collection of disturbing travel horror stories, each one more terrifying than the last. Prepare to be unsettled, frightened, and captivated by the sinister side of the world, where the ordinary becomes extraordinary and the familiar turns frightening. Story 1: The Lost Backpack. The sun beat down mercilessly on Alex's sunburned shoulders as he trudged through the bustling market. His heart pounded with a mixture of fear and frustration. His backpack, containing his passport, wallet, and all his belongings, had vanished. He'd been so careless, leaving it unattended for a mere moment. Now, he was stranded in a foreign city, a victim of a common but devastating crime. The realization hit him like a wave: he was alone, penniless, and vulnerable. Days turned into a blur of desperation. He scoured the lost and found, pleaded with the police, and posted frantic messages on social media. But hope dwindled with each passing day. He was forced to rely on the kindness of strangers, sleeping on park benches and eating meager meals from charity stalls. The city, once a place of wonder and excitement, became a hostile environment. Every shadow held the threat of a thief or a scam artist. He learned to navigate the streets with caution, always wary of his surroundings. As weeks turned into months, Alex's spirit began to break. The constant fear, the uncertainty, the isolation, it was too much to bear. He yearned for the comfort of home, the security of familiar faces. Yet, he was trapped, a prisoner of his own misfortune. One evening, as he sat alone on a bridge, watching the city lights reflect on the river, a glimmer of hope appeared. A kind local, moved by his plight, offered him a job at a small restaurant. It was a meager income, but it was enough to survive. Slowly, Alex began to rebuild his life, one small step at a time. He learned the language, made new friends, and found a sense of belonging. The ordeal had scarred him, but it had also tempered his spirit. He had faced adversity and emerged stronger, a testament to the human capacity for resilience. Story 2: The Haunted Hostel. The creaking floorboards and the eerie silence of the historic hostel sent a shiver down Anya's spine. She and her friends, drawn by the allure of its Gothic architecture and tales of ghostly encounters, had decided to spend a night there. As darkness enveloped the room, strange occurrences began to unfold. A sudden chill swept through the air, despite the warmth of the fireplace. A portrait on the wall seemed to shift its gaze, following their every move. The antique mirror in the corner flickered, distorting their reflections into grotesque caricatures. One by one, they experienced unsettling visions. Ben saw a shadowy figure lurking in the corridor, its form fleeting and elusive. Anya heard whispered conversations, voices that seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves. As the night wore on, the air grew heavy with an unseen presence. The climax came when they ventured into the attic, a room rumored to be the site of a tragic death. The moment they stepped inside, a deafening crash echoed from below. Rushing downstairs, they found shattered glass and overturned furniture. A sense of dread washed over them as they realized they were not alone. A chilling wind howled through the halls, accompanied by the sound of footsteps that seemed to follow their every move. A cold hand brushed against Anya's neck, sending shivers down her spine. The group huddled together, their fear palpable. Just as they were about to flee, the disturbances ceased. The silence that followed was almost as terrifying as the chaos that had preceded it. As dawn broke, they escaped the haunted hostel, forever scarred by the night's horrifying events. The experience had shattered their belief in the ordinary, leaving them forever haunted by the unseen. Story 3: The Night Bus Nightmare. The old bus groaned and rattled as it rumbled through the desolate night. Maya, a solitary traveler, had opted for this overnight journey to save time and money. Now, she regretted her decision. The bus, filled with weary passengers, was a far cry from the comfortable coaches she was accustomed to. As the hours passed, the landscape grew increasingly barren. The road, once well lit, now wound through a pitch-black wilderness. A sudden jolt jolted Maya awake, and she realized the bus had come to a halt. A collective sigh swept through the passengers as they disembarked, their faces illuminated by the dim headlights. The driver, a grizzled man with a haunted look in his eyes, announced that a mechanical failure had forced them to stop at a nearby diner. The passengers, exhausted and anxious, trudged towards the dimly lit building. The diner, with its peeling paint and faded sign, exuded an air of neglect. Inside, the atmosphere was even more unsettling. The few patrons, their faces obscured by shadows, stared at the newcomers with a chilling intensity. The air was thick with the smell of stale cigarettes and cheap coffee. As the night wore on, strange occurrences began to unfold. Eerie whispers echoed through the empty booths, and the flickering lights cast dancing shadows on the walls. Maya, unable to shake off the growing unease, decided to leave. She stepped outside into the inky blackness, hoping to find a taxi or a passing car. But the road was deserted, and the silence was deafening. As she wandered further, she heard a distant sound, a low, guttural growl. Fear gripped her as she turned to see a shadowy figure emerging from the darkness. Story 4: The Hitchhiker's Curse. The open road stretched before them, a ribbon of asphalt cutting through the heart of the American Southwest. Sarah and Ben, a young couple embarking on a cross-country road trip, felt a sense of freedom and adventure. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the desert landscape, they spotted a lone figure hitchhiking by the side of the road. A young man, weathered and weary, extended his thumb. Feeling a surge of compassion, they pulled over. The hitchhiker, introducing himself as Jack, seemed grateful for the ride. As they drove, he regaled them with tales of his travels, his voice filled with a strange intensity. As the night deepened, the conversation took a darker turn. Jack spoke of a mysterious force, a curse that had followed him across the country. He warned them to be cautious, to heed the signs, and to never underestimate the power of the unknown. Sarah and Ben, initially intrigued, dismissed his words as the ramblings of a troubled mind. But as the night wore on, strange occurrences began to unfold. The car radio crackled with static, emitting eerie sounds that sent chills down their spines. The headlights flickered, casting distorted shadows on the road ahead. And then, there were the visions, fleeting glimpses of a shadowy figure lurking in the rear-view mirror. Fear began to gnaw at their hearts. They tried to shake off the growing unease, but it was futile. The more they tried to ignore the supernatural, the more it seemed to intensify. As they neared their destination, Jack disappeared without a trace, leaving behind an unsettling silence. The couple arrived at their hotel, relieved to be safe. Yet, the darkness that had crept into their hearts lingered. They had encountered something far more sinister than they had ever imagined, a glimpse into a world beyond their understanding. The memory of the hitchhiker's curse would haunt them for years to come. Story 5: The Abandoned Asylum. The abandoned asylum loomed over the desolate landscape, a decaying monument to the past. Its crumbling walls and shattered windows cast long, ominous shadows. Despite the warnings of locals and the eerie reputation, a group of thrill-seeking teenagers, lured by the promise of adventure, decided to explore its depths. As they ventured into the labyrinthine corridors, a sense of unease settled over them. The air was thick with dust and the stench of decay. The floorboards groaned beneath their feet, and the wind howled through the broken windows, creating an otherworldly atmosphere. They stumbled upon a ward filled with empty beds, each one a silent testament to the suffering that had once taken place within these walls. As they explored further, they heard strange noises, whispers that seemed to emanate from the darkness. A cold draft swept through the corridor, sending shivers down their spines. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream echoed through the building. The teenagers, their hearts pounding with fear, rushed towards the source of the sound. They found themselves in a dimly lit room, where a shadowy figure stood motionless in the corner. As they approached, the figure turned, revealing a horrifying visage. The creature, a grotesque amalgamation of human and something else, lunged at them with a feral intensity. The teenagers scattered, their screams echoing through the desolate halls. They fled in terror, their only thought to escape the clutches of the monstrous entity. As they stumbled out into the fading light, they cast a final glance at the asylum. The building seemed to watch them, its decaying facade a silent sentinel of the horrors that lurked within. The experience had forever changed them, leaving an indelible mark on their souls. They had dared to trespass into the realm of the unknown, and the price had been far greater than they had ever imagined. Story 6: The Cursed Island. The island, shrouded in mist and legend, beckoned to the adventurous spirits of four friends. Intrigued by its dark history and tales of supernatural occurrences, they set sail, eager to uncover its secrets. As they approached the island, the sky darkened, and a storm rolled in, forcing them to seek shelter in a dilapidated cottage. The cottage, once a bustling residence, now stood as a decaying relic. As they explored its eerie interior, they discovered strange symbols etched into the walls and a chilling atmosphere that seemed to seep into their bones. A storm raged outside, intensifying the isolation and amplifying the eerie silence within. As night fell, the true horrors of the island began to unfold. Strange noises echoed through the cottage, and shadows danced across the walls. A cold, unseen presence seemed to watch their every move. One by one, they experienced terrifying visions, each more disturbing than the last. One of the friends, a skeptic by nature, dismissed the occurrences as mere hallucinations brought on by fear and exhaustion. But as the night wore on, even he couldn't deny the reality of the supernatural. A malevolent force, rooted deep within the island, was awakening, and it was hungry for new victims. The friends, united by fear, sought refuge in the cottage's cellar. As they huddled together, they heard a scratching sound above them. A grotesque, otherworldly creature emerged from the darkness, its eyes glowing with a sinister light. The creature lunged, its claws outstretched, as the friends screamed in terror. The next morning, the storm had passed, leaving the island serene and peaceful. The cottage stood empty, its dark secrets buried once more. But the friends who had dared to venture into its heart would never forget the horrors they had witnessed, the curse that had marked them forever. The island, with its sinister power, claimed another victim, a chilling reminder that some places are best left unexplored. Story 7: The Vanishing Tourist. The quaint, cobblestone streets of the ancient city of Prague held a certain allure for Emily. A seasoned traveler, she was drawn to its mysterious charm and rich history. One crisp autumn morning, she set out to explore the winding alleyways, camera in hand, eager to capture the city's beauty. As the day wore on, Emily ventured deeper into the city's labyrinthine network of streets. She paused by the Charles Bridge, captivated by its Gothic architecture and the vibrant street performers. Lost in the moment, she didn't notice the darkening sky or the growing chill in the air. Hours later, as the last rays of sunlight faded, Emily realized she was alone. The once bustling streets were now deserted, the city enveloped in an eerie silence. Panic set in as she tried to retrace her steps, but the familiar landmarks seemed to have shifted, disoriented. The following morning, Emily's disappearance sent shockwaves through the city. The police, along with her worried family, launched a massive search operation. They scoured the city, interviewed locals, and analyzed surveillance footage, but all efforts were in vain. There was no trace of Emily, as if she had vanished into thin air. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. The mystery deepened, fueling local legends and conspiracy theories. Some whispered about a dark force that lurked in the city's ancient shadows, a force that claimed unsuspecting victims. Others speculated about a secret society, a group of individuals with the power to make people disappear. As time passed, Emily's case grew cold, relegated to the annals of unsolved mysteries. The city of Prague, once a place of wonder and excitement, now carried a haunting reminder of the enigmatic disappearance. The vanishing tourist became a chilling tale, a cautionary story for those who dared to explore the city's darkest corners. Story 8: The Nightmare Airbnb. The quaint Airbnb, nestled amidst the towering redwoods, promised a serene escape from the hustle and bustle of city life. Sarah and her family, eager for a peaceful retreat, arrived at the secluded cabin, excited to immerse themselves in nature's tranquility. As they settled into their cozy accommodations, a sense of unease began to creep in. Strange noises echoed through the night, a mix of creaks and whispers that seemed to originate from the depths of the forest. The windows, fogged up from the damp air, distorted their reflections, creating eerie, distorted images. The following morning, as they ventured into the woods, they encountered a series of unsettling incidents. A sudden gust of wind rattled the trees, sending shivers down their spines. A shadowy figure, glimpsed at the edge of the forest, vanished as quickly as it appeared. The deeper they ventured, the more intense the feeling of being watched. As the days passed, the disturbances intensified. Objects moved on their own, doors slammed shut, and cold spots appeared in the warmest rooms. Sarah's young daughter claimed to see a ghostly child playing in the garden, a figure that vanished when approached. One night, a terrifying event shook them to their core. A blood-curdling scream pierced the silence, followed by the sound of shattering glass. Rushing to the source of the noise, they found the living room in disarray, furniture overturned and shattered glass strewn across the floor. A chilling draft swept through the room, carrying with it an otherworldly scent. Frightened and desperate, they fled the cabin, seeking refuge in the nearest town. The Airbnb, once a dream vacation, had turned into a nightmare, a place where the boundaries between reality and the supernatural blurred. The experience left an indelible mark on the family, a constant reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of even the most idyllic settings. Story 9: The Ghost Train. The old, rusty train chugged through the night, its mournful whistle echoing through the desolate landscape. A group of friends, seeking a unique adventure, had boarded this historic train, eager to experience the nostalgia of bygone eras. As the train rattled along, the atmosphere grew increasingly eerie. Strange noises echoed through the carriages, a mix of creaks, groans, and whispers. The flickering lights cast dancing shadows on the walls, creating an unsettling ambience. The passengers, initially excited, began to feel a growing sense of unease. A sudden jolt jolted the train to a halt, plunging the carriages into darkness. A collective gasp rippled through the passengers as they realized they were stranded in the middle of nowhere. The silence was broken only by the occasional creak of the train and the distant howl of the wind. As the hours passed, the passengers grew increasingly restless. Some ventured into the darkened corridors, drawn by a morbid curiosity. They encountered strange sights and sounds, apparitions that seemed to materialize out of the shadows. A spectral conductor, clad in a tattered uniform, was seen pacing the aisles, his face obscured by a dark hood. One by one, the passengers disappeared, vanishing into the night without a trace. The remaining survivors, gripped by fear, huddled together, their only hope to endure the night. As dawn approached, the train began to move again, carrying its silent cargo of the missing. The incident, shrouded in mystery, became a legend, a cautionary tale for those who dared to travel the night train. The haunted train, a relic of a bygone era, continued its journey, a ghostly vessel carrying the secrets of the past. Story 10: The Desert Nightmare. The sun beat down mercilessly on the group of hikers, their water supplies dwindling and their spirits flagging. Lost in the vast expanse of the desert, they were at the mercy of the unforgiving elements. As they stumbled through the shifting sands, hallucinations began to distort their perception of reality. Mirages danced before their eyes, promising cool, refreshing oases. But as they drew closer, the illusions dissipated, leaving them more dehydrated and disoriented. The silence of the desert was broken only by the howling wind and the occasional rustle of unseen creatures. As night fell, the temperature plummeted, and the desert transformed into a frigid wasteland. The hikers huddled together for warmth, their breath misting in the cold air. In the darkness, they heard strange sounds, a mix of growls and whispers that seemed to emanate from the dunes. One by one, the hikers succumbed to the harsh conditions, their bodies succumbing to the relentless desert. The survivors, driven by desperation, wandered aimlessly, their minds clouded by fatigue and fear. They saw grotesque creatures, half human, half beast, stalking them through the night. As the final hours ticked away, the remaining hiker, delirious and weak, stumbled upon an abandoned oasis. The water, though stagnant and foul, offered a glimmer of hope. But as they drank, they felt a strange sensation, a tingling in their veins. The water, tainted by a mysterious substance, began to transform them, altering their physical and mental state. The hiker, now a creature of the desert, emerged from the oasis, a terrifying figure with glowing eyes and razor-sharp claws. The desert, once a place of beauty and danger, had claimed another victim, transforming them into a monstrous guardian of its secrets. The legend of the desert's curse would live on, a chilling tale for those who dared to venture into its unforgiving embrace. As you've journeyed through these chilling tales, remember that the world is full of hidden dangers and mysterious forces. The next time you embark on your travels, keep your eyes peeled and your senses sharp. You never know what horrors may lurk just beyond the horizon. Sweet dreams, and safe travels.